I had this discussion, and I've probably had it a couple times with my daughter. She's visiting me right now, visiting Dad. And I got into this discussion. I said, what you view as a kid as a shortcoming, whatever it is, you don't like the way you look, you don't like the way you fit in, I said, it's almost like, and I'm not overly religious, but I said, it's almost like the man upstairs is saying, I'm going to give you some early shortcomings, and it's going to create this toughness and this metal, and all the pretty girls in high school and all the good-looking guys in high school, they're going to peak like 3 years out of college. And it's like somebody balanced it all out. For those who get a lot early, they waste it. And for those who don't, they work harder. And Big Ben is a referendum on that. The sports gods gave him everything. 6'6", 250 mobile, huge arm. The only guy that pump fakes with one arm. The football gods gave him everything. He is 39, and it's over. And he peaked at 32, and he was kind of shot at 36 and a half. He got the bigger body than Brady, the bigger body than Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron's 38 and is the best player in the league again this year. Tom is 44, and many think he'll win another Super Bowl. And they both have years left. Why? Because Ben got it all. Oh, he'll make the Hall of Fame. All of them will. But what wasted talent? He didn't play as smart. He took too many hits. Why would he worry about that? He was the biggest guy in high school, the biggest guy in college, and the biggest guy in the NFL. Why protect yourself? He wasn't as committed in the offseason. So he wasn't in high school or college and still dominated. He didn't adapt. It was always just the deep ball. He never really refined his skills. What you saw early is what his talent gave him. If Ben was the equivalent of us, normal citizens with normal bodies, he peaks 4 or 5 years out of high school, doesn't invest much, parties too much, and at 65 you look up and all the great years were way back in the rearview mirror. Oh, he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the great talents of all time. He's Josh Allen 20 years ago, when athletes we see more and more athletes that kind of look like Josh Allen now. They didn't 20 years ago when Ben came out. His last big playoff win against a legitimate quarterback 11 years ago, Joe Flacco. And I look at Ben and I think so many hits, so much little offseason commitment, never really adapted beyond the big arm. Oh, what could have been. But you know what? That's the way it works. The prettiest girl in high school is never the winner in her 40s. The stud, all the girls fond at 18, a lot of times ends up being a loser. In the end, if you look around the National Football League, I can't think of another quarterback that got all the gifts. Think of what he got beyond physical skills. He got the most stable franchise in the league. They've had like 2 coaches in 40 years. He got unbelievable wide receivers. Does anybody draft wide receivers like the Steelers? Never. There's not even Belichick can't draft receivers. Stable franchise, great GM, amazing fans, great history, well-funded, brilliant owners. 1 Super Bowl. That's it. I mean, it's a Hall of Fame, but when I think of Ben, I think of so much given and so little accomplished. And I know he's a Hall of Famer. But it's interesting, if you look around America, who the successful kids are. And if you look around the NFL, Brady didn't get a start in college. Aaron Rodgers, junior college. People ignored Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all those doubters. He's a wide receiver. Justin Herbert's too mechanical. Isn't it amazing? Kyler Murray's too small. Russell Wilson got benched in college, had to transfer to Wisconsin, set all their school records, still went in the 3rd round. The league's great quarterbacks. Peyton Manning's a total exception, where he was number 1 high school, number 1 college, great. It is overwhelmingly the great quarterbacks were doubted and criticized and mocked. They didn't get what Ben got. He deserves the Hall of Fame, and he had a great career. But I'll always think, man, he left a lot on the table. The good news is Pittsburgh got another ring. They love him. He loves them. And it was a really cool night. It wasn't pretty. Hasn't been much for Ben in the last 3 years, but it was a really cool night. And Pittsburgh said thank you, and Ben said thank you, and it's over. And he deserves the plaque. He deserves the Hall of Fame. But my first thought of him will be, I've never seen anybody get more gifts, and he left a lot of them squandered. Great career, could have been greater, nice night, wobbly last several years. So let's talk about the team they beat, the Cleveland Browns. You know, Joy and I see this all the time. Sports tribalism is a powerful drug. I said this years ago. I wrote it in my first book. 2 things make smart men stupid. Beautiful women in sports. They make fools of men. Since Baker Mayfield was drafted, he has got the most interceptions in the NFL. The most passes batted down in the NFL. A career passer rating at 87. He's short. He's marginally athletic. He used to be accurate. He no longer is. And yet, people in Ohio who are otherwise bright and people who maybe have lived there and moved on defend him at every corner. Folks, he's not very good. He was never as good as you thought. He's bad now. Some of it injuries. He had 10 straight incompletions last night. That's the most in the league this year. He's called out the medical staff. He calls out coaches. I'll say it again. It's time for a divorce. Baker reportedly got a death threat. The media and the fans have turned on him. It's ugly, and he deserves a less hostile environment. I can't imagine being a quarterback and getting death threats in my hometown. They usually defend you to the end. And secondly, I think there's real doubt in that locker room, that GM, and that coach about his talent. Listen, Baker at this point is holding back a sensational roster. Don't forget, Browns fans, if anybody in the media didn't call this a top 5 roster before the season, you called them out. You called them morons and idiots. Well, you're a moron or idiot in Ohio today if you don't think it's a top 5 or 6 roster. It's got the best guard, center, guard combination in the league. It's got maybe the best running back in the league. Excellent tight ends. They finally used him last night. The best pass rusher, though he's hurting Myles Garrett. Top safety. Denzel Ward's an elite corner. And your coach won Coach of the Year. It's all about standards for Cleveland now. Ohio guy, you can take Darlene for a corn dog and a beer tonight, but why don't you make a reservation at a nice restaurant? For once in your life, have standards. The Rams moved off Jared Goff. He'd been to a Super Bowl. They moved off Jared Goff. Jared Goff's record in Los Angeles was 42-27. Standards. They moved off him. Kansas City moved off Alex Smith. They were going to the playoffs with him. Alex Smith, 50-26. They moved off him. It's called standards. McVay and Andy Reid. Jimmy Garoppolo has been to a Super Bowl, led entering the 4th against Patrick Mahomes, is 30-14, and they're moving off him. And you're defending Baker. 4th coach, 28-29, getting worse. Injuries don't help. A fire hose of toxicity, calling out the staff and the coaches. And by the way, when OBJ's dad called him out, there was no pushback from players. He's lost the GM. He's lost the coach. He's lost some in the locker room. But I think when he's healthy, he can play. He's not who I would build around, but I think he's better than what we've seen in the last 5 weeks. He's hurt. And it's really hard to play this position when you're hurt. Should be noted Aaron Rodgers is hurt too, but he's going to win MVP. Patrick Mahomes, by the way, was bouncing around and limping around all year. He has been multiple times. He's fine. Tom Brady, by the way, won a Super Bowl last year, and we found out he had like some meniscus issue. So the injury is part of it, and the average, small, cocky, marginally athletic, poor judgment is part of it too. It is amazing what sports tribalism does. He deserves a second chance. Cleveland have higher standards. I have never once questioned his toughness. Baker is tough. He's a tough guy. He's not a talented guy. He's not nearly as talented as he thinks, but he's a tough guy, and for that he deserves credit. Just like Ben's career drives me nuts, but he deserves a Hall of Fame, Baker is tough. But none of us have ever questioned tough. What we've questioned is talent and judgment. And in both instances, they're not very good. And it's time for divorce. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.